You know what happens? You are desperately trying to figure out what you're going to talk book-wise, especially if you haven't read something that you can actually talk about. And that is my position this week, though I have posted about it on socials. Anyway, ask and someone in the universe will deliver. Hey everyone, it's Ray and welcome to my little bookish corner of the world. Today I am going to be talking about something completely different, and that may shock you. However, it is very much book related because I am going to be talking about the trailer for the brand new series on Disney Plus and Hulu, which starts on the 18th of October, and that is Jilly Cooper's Rivals. I haven't seen the show, I am not that well connected, but I have, like many, seen the trailer and I have some thoughts. So let's get started.
1986.
First off,
You can have whatever you want.
Come to the Cotswolds.
Exciting things are going to happen to us in a place like this.
Tony Barringham. If you don't start spending some of that fortune making decent television, you're going to lose your business.
Rupert Campbell Black, champion show jumper put out to pasture. It's an arrogant brat.
Okay, my first comment, and it is not regarding the casting, I will get to that in a moment. It is regarding the comment that they have just made about Rupert Campbell Black. Yes, it is true, he won a gold medal in show jumping for the UK in the Olympics, well, for Britain in the Olympics, and then he retired due to injury. However, in the book, this particular book, Rivals, he is an MP and also sports minister or minister for sport. He has not been put out to pasture. He has a constructive task to carry out and he is doing it. He also obviously is in the middle of writing a tell-all memoir about his career, his relationships, of which many are kind of controversial, but primarily he is a politician. And he moved into that courtesy of the fact that he has the right connections. So he isn't really out to pasture. He's just not doing what he used to do. So Tony's estimation of him is kind of unfair. Also in this, they will refer to him as Tony Badingham. However, in the original print of the book back in 1988, his character was called Tony Bullingham. And it turns out I was sitting there going, they've got his name wrong, but they haven't got his name wrong. It turns out that Jilly Cooper had to change the character's name for fear of being sued due to similarities between this particular character, his name, and the name of somebody who really existed at the time. I don't know if they really exist anymore. However, that's neither here nor there.
Having an opponent
Makes life much more exciting. Oh my God, it's him.
This particular scene is very famous in the book. It's the moment where Taggy and Rupert see each other truly for the first time. And in Rupert's case, Taggy sees a lot more than she probably wanted to. However, there doesn't seem to be, I don't know why, I think it's possibly because in my mind that is not Rupert Campbell Black. Again, I will get into that. Taggy seems a little bit less taken aback, but I think that is purely because it's a TV show, it's not the book, and you can put a lot more emphasis on reactions on the page than you can on screen because it's down to an individual's interpretation. I am interested to find out how these two work together because in the book, and I'm going to keep on going back to that because this is book talk, in the book, Taggy is 18 very, very naive, incredibly overprotected by her family due to the fact that she has dyslexia and therefore struggled to finish school and was treated differently by her teachers, especially considering her older brother and her younger sister are incredibly intelligent. Her brother is actually going to Oxford or Cambridge. I can't remember which, but he's 21 or he turns 21 in the book. Caitlin, her younger sister, is incredibly outgoing, very bright, takes advantage of the fact that her sister adores her, and also takes advantage of the fact that she's the youngest. Her mother, Maud O'Hara, is an ex-actress, knows the way of the world, and doesn't want her daughter taken advantage of by anybody but her. And her dad is the reason they're all there in the first place. He is a world-renowned journalist, interviewer, has written books, and therefore, like the rest of the family, are very self-aware and incredibly bright. The thing is, I don't think that Taggy is exactly dumb. She just struggled at school, and that was the interpretation that everybody placed on it. Oh, you're not like your brother, or oh, your sister's not like you. But it's just the way I think that people tend to judge. And I know they definitely did that back in the 80s, having been a student at that period in time.
I think I've had this dream.
Rupert can't resist the conquest.
Despite your money, you are a lonely man.
You don't care who you hurt to get what you want, do you?
I want you to stay away from my daughter.
That particular scene between Declan O'Hara and Rupert made me feel quite uncomfortable, mostly because it's not one that actually takes place. That conversation was one that took place between Rupert and Taggy's brother, and it just feels like two old men having a conversation about a young girl rather than a prospective an interested party talking with the very protective father. And I think that is down to the fact that Alex Hassel, who is playing Rupert Campbell Black, is almost a decade older than Rupert is meant to be at this point in time. He is supposed to be 37, admittedly still a considerable amount older than the 18 to 19-year-old Taggy, but he is not supposed to look, it sounds awful, I'm judging by appearances, but I think it's because I have such a connection or such an emotional connection to this particular character. He looks a little bit more craggy and rough around the edges than a member of the elite who had private school education and the best should appear in my mind, and even in the book. And again, I will talk about that when I finish talking about this.
Something different about Daddy. I appear to be a little stuck.
That just looks creepy, or is that just me?
Welcome to the Catwalks.
I didn't ask to come here. They're all horses and dogs and houses and cars and wives. They haven't had an orgasm since.
There is something about Catherine Parkinson I absolutely love in everything I've seen her in, and she is very appropriate for this role. In fact, when I first saw the beginning of the trailer and Catherine Parkinson is walking along with another character, I thought she is going to be Lizzie, and she is Lizzie, and for some reason that is the perfect casting. Someone a little bit more, yes, she looks very polished in this particular scene, but she is a little bit more messy around the edges. She's an author. She is kind of scatty because she's so focused on her projects, and she makes mistakes like cutting her fringe with a pair of scissors that have just been used to cut the rind off bacon, things like that. And I love that aspect, and I think that Catherine Parkinson is the perfect person to play that particular role.
Pony Club Camp!
That was Victoria Smurfit playing Maud O'Hara, and as I think that Victoria Smurfit's a really good casting choice. However, I'm not sure that they've got her character quite right. She's talking about all this, the vibrancy and the fact that everything is so over the top and it's all about the money. In the book, she revels in it. She's an ex-actress who loves being center stage, who loves being the middle of everything, doesn't like when anyone takes the limelight away from her. So the fact that she is standing there judging all these people and saying that she doesn't feel comfortable, it wasn't her decision to move there, seems incredibly out of character for the person in the book. I do love the way that they did that with the screaming and the shout singing. It works. I think it works really well. I have to admit that I do like the way that they've done this particular trailer. The fact that I'm not so keen on the content is irrelevant at this point. Yeah, see, there we have Taggy and Rupert. Taggy, she does look very fresh-faced and young. Alex Hassel looks in his mid-40s. He does not look like a 37-year-old man who has not had it hard at all. This guy, I mean, Rupert Campbell-Black has had everything handed to him on a plate. Everything. He's always had wealth. He's had every single woman he could ever want. And even in the books, he is described as the most handsome man in the world. In fact, the most beautiful man in the world, with blonde hair and denim blue eyes. And no, I am not just going, I just wanted him to be blonde with blue eyes. No, that is Jilly Cooper's description of Rupert Campbell-Black. He is blonde with denim blue eyes and the most handsome, most beautiful man in the world. Sorry, I just don't see it.
You know you're dancing with the devil.
I'm gonna destroy you. Have to try harder than that if you want to beat me. Game on.
So that was the trailer. Now I'm going to talk about my feelings on the casting. I've already started with Rupert Campbell-Black. Now, he is supposed to be blonde, blue-eyed, beautiful. And though Marcus Gilbert in the 1993 ITV version of Riders wasn't quite it, there are so many mid-30s, blonde-haired, blue-eyed actors out there who could have easily played the role of Rupert Campbell-Black. I cannot judge on the acting, but I can judge on how I connect with the person that has been cast in the role. And every time I see a photo of him in this particular role, I can't help thinking of him as playing someone else in the series. There have been a number of characters who are pretty much glossed over. They aren't considered important. And then there are the characters who are really bigged up. I've talked about Tony Baddingham, who in the book is called Tony Bullingham, or at least the copy I have. And I love David Tennant in his acting. I think he's a very good actor. He's very skilled at turning on. I mean, when you look at him in Jessica Jones, he is the most despicable person, and Tony Baddingham isn't supposed to be nice. He is ruthless. However, the competition between him and Rupert in this comes across as far more about business, whereas in the book it has a lot to do with personal history. Tony Baddingham he was brought up hard and tough. His parents didn't have loads of money, but his father made money through munitions, and he was awarded an hereditary peerage because of his service to the country. Rupert was brought up wealthy. His parents they're not titled, but they were incredibly wealthy. They were landed gentry, and he has grown up with everything being handed to him always. So when Tony's father was given, I think his grandfather actually was given a peerage, everybody was very, very cruel, as people tend to be in any class group. They were incredibly cruel. They were bullying in the nature of the torture and torment was incredibly nasty. However, that has obviously carried on down the generations, and it is a personal vendetta in many ways. There's also competition regarding women and money and contracts. And a lot of the book itself is to do with franchises, which were something that happened a lot in the early to mid 80s. There was a lot of competition for TV franchises, specifically independent television, so ITV in the UK, which is independent television. And local regions have their own franchises. For example, where I live, it used to be called Meridian. I'm not sure what it's called anymore because I don't watch it. But that sort of thing happened a lot. And you had to have money behind you. So Tony Baddingham is running his television channel, and all of a sudden there is competition for that network. And it ties in with Declan O'Hara, with Cameron Cook, who I think is going to be an interesting role to see because she is very hard-nosed. She's described as bird-like appearance, but they have cast an incredibly stunning Narissa, and I'm looking up her name right at this moment, Nafessa Williams, who I haven't seen in anything. She's the only American in the TV series because she's actually really the only American in the book. And it's going to be interesting to see how she interacts with the rest of the characters. What I do like is the 1980s feel. It is something I am familiar with, having grown up through the 80s. And I kind of miss it in many ways. My wardrobe still has 80s clothing in it, but we're not going to go there. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle a lot of the slightly more complicated and racy storylines. There are certain words I know for sure they will not be using, including the C word, which I don't even like. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. I am not a huge fan of that word. And that is used quite prolifically through the book. There's also elements of underage activity, drugs, a lot of drink, and physical and mental abuse, which I wonder if they're even going to touch on. So yeah, there are a few things, but the trailer just makes me think it's not going to be something that's going to bring me back to the book. I'm kind of hoping it's not going to be as it appears to be when I'm looking at that particular trailer. However, who knows, come the 18th of October, I may well sit down to watch the first episode, but at the same time, I still have a good few episodes of Only Murders in the Building to watch, so who knows what I'll be doing by that point in time. Anyway, that is a very quick-ish run through of an instinctual reaction to the final trailer for Disney and Hulu's Rivals, which is based on one of my favourite 1980s books, Rivals by Jilly Cooper. Until next time, let me know if you like this, by the way, because I could do a load more, and I am still working on my Appointment with Death video because it's becoming incredibly in-depth into the psychological behaviour of parental control. Goodness knows why, unless you've read the book, of course. Bye.